Good morning, everybody. How are you all? You well? Great. So, show of hands, who here has heard of the Big Issue magazine? Great. So the Big Issue, they do a corporate event called the CEO Sleepover. It's all about raising awareness for people who are experiencing homelessness. And what they do is they get executive teams to sleep out overnight at their workplace or their campus. So last night, I slept on concrete at Optus, what we call the Optus Plaza. I had about 3 hours sleep. So if I slur my words or if I look disheveled, just give me a bit of a break. That's what's happened to me. So I'll start by telling you a little bit about my career, just so you know who I am. And I've had the great pleasure of working with a lot of great people in this industry and a lot of great places. So if I do call out your company's name, please just give it a shout, because I want to know who's in the audience. So I started my career about 20 years ago as a media buyer at Universal McCann. Not too enthusiastic, but I had fun. I also worked at Mindshare. I was a purple person. There you go. And then eventually I moved to Naked Communications, which was a disruptive agency at the time, and I had a lot of fun there. Yeah, I got a woo from someone. That was great. Then I moved overseas. I worked in a creative agency called Luby Silverstein & Partners. That was in California. I loved working there. I was a brand strategist. We won the global General Motors account. We did that with Dentsu, who are our partners, which were great. No one from Dentsu? Yeah, some people. There you go. There you go. And then after that, I actually moved into a client-side role. I moved to Google. I moved to Google when there was about 15,000 people working there. There's now about 250,000 people working there. But I was one of the founding members of their internal media team. We worked with PhD, which was a lot of fun. And also a startup, a scrappy little team from London that were called Essence as well. So that was a lot of fun too. From there, I took on lots of different roles at Google. I ran local US brand marketing and global smart home marketing before moving back to Australia when COVID happened. And now I'm at Optus, and I'm back with Universal McCann. And I feel I started on the government account at UM, so the fact that they just won the government account again, that feels reassuring for me. I feel like everything's right in the world. So I've had roles in media agencies, in creative agencies, as a media client, and then also as a big marketer. So the thing that I would like to put to all of you is I think that there is a chasm, a big gap of knowledge and understanding that exists between marketers and media agencies. I think that same gap exists between media agencies and creative agencies, and I think it certainly exists between creative agencies and marketers as well. And I think if you want to be the changers, like you say that you are, I think it's about closing that gap. That's what you need to do. And I think that if any of you have ever done something that has been great, if you've won awards or achieved something or whatever it might be, I would put to you that you have achieved that because you have closed that gap. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. What are some tips and tricks to closing the gap? And when I tell you these are things that I was certainly guilty of when I worked in media teams. They're things I wish I knew. And they're still things that I see today. And it's not just today with UM, it's been across my whole career I've seen these things. So I'm going to give you these 5 tips. These are practical things that you can do every single day. Some of you, if your careers have been long, you might say, oh yeah, that's obvious. Some of you starting out, hopefully it's very helpful. Okay, you ready? Yep. Great. All right, here we go. Tip number 1, keep it simple. This sounds really, really obvious. So I spend my time, I would spend 5%, maybe 1, maybe 2 hours a week on media. And if that 1 to 2 hours that I spend is 50 slides in 60 minutes, I can guarantee you the chance of me not understanding the takeaway is really, really high. I'm someone that has a lot of confidence, and I don't mind saying to a room, I'm sorry, I don't know exactly what you're talking about here. Can you just say it to me simply, please? And every time I say something like that, I get a really clear answer. But then also afterwards, people on my team say to me, geez, I'm glad you said that because I didn't know what was going on. So there's a lot of times that, like, quite frankly, you guys, you might sound really smart, but you're not breaking through. So you've got to keep it really simple. And I can tell you, there is nothing more impressive than someone who is confident and clear and is able to articulate their point quickly and succinctly. And I think that's something that the media agencies really need to start doing more of. I would encourage you not to wait to the end of the presentation to do the ta-da reveal. If you can reveal, or you can say what it is that you need to say in 3 minutes, you should say that. That's absolutely what you need to do. So it's far better off being understood than it is to be smart. Pretty straightforward, but I think that would close the gap in a significant way. Number 2 is you guys are connectors. I don't like to think of media people as traders. I think that if media agencies are thought of as traders, that's a kind of a race to the bottom mentality. If it's just waiting for a brief, getting said brief, talking to media owners, going back and forth like this, that is something that I think devalues the industry that you're in, and it devalues the relationships that you have. So my strong recommendation is talk to your clients, understand their business, understand what's going on. Maybe they've got a problem with distribution. Maybe they've got a problem with providing more value to their customers that they're not able to break through with them. There could be lots of different things that are going on outside of the traditional media briefing process. Same thing, talk to the media owners that you work with as well. Maybe they've started a new division of something, or maybe they have ambition to move into a new market, whatever it is that might be happening. And look for ways to make those connections and solve those problems, bring people together. It is incredibly valuable, the relationships that you have and the people that you're able to talk to. I think you should leverage those far more than you currently do, and you should bring clients and partners together far more often. I'll give you an example of this. When I was working with PhD in the US, we had a big problem with Google Maps. We had created an API that we wanted journalists to use. They weren't using it. This is in 2012, something like that. They weren't using the API at all. We had someone from PhD who was just talking to me about the Google business, wanted to understand what was going on. I explained this problem. They called me about a week later and said, by the way, the New York Times has set up this new division about innovative journalism and using digital. You should talk to them. About 2 months after that, every single travel article that the New York Times publishes and still does today is fully integrated into Google Maps using that API, and that's what kicked it off. That didn't come from any brief. That just came from a curious person who wanted to know more about how to solve a client's problem. And that's the kind of person that marketers call more often than anything else. And I think it's incredibly important, and something that the media industry should really start focusing on, is looking for opportunities to bring partners and clients together. Make sense? Yep. Great. Okay. Number 3. This one's a little bit controversial. Not everyone agrees with me on this. This is hold the jazz hands. So, I think one of the things that happens, or what I spend most of my time on, about 90% of my time is on performance. So I'm thinking about performance of my teams, I'm thinking about performance of the business, thinking about performance of our media plans. That's what I need to focus on more than anything else. And when I think about performance, one of the really simple key things with performance is great advertising, reaching the right people enough of the time. If you do that, that's a really simple formula to grow a business and be quite sustainable with the way that you do it. And the people in this room, you guys represent the right people enough of the time. So I think you should be spending about 20% of your time and 80% of the budget just demonstrating that you can really clearly deliver on that for clients. So don't come in with the big, exciting, new, flashy, different. It's about delivering the confidence that you know how to drive the business forward, and that's with a clear, simple plan that we know is going to do the right thing. And once you've got that in place, I think that provides the safety net that enables marketers to take risks. It's really hard to take a risk if you don't have confidence that you're going to deliver for the business. Much easier to do so if you know you've got a clear plan in place. And I think the very first thing that media agencies need to do is be able to demonstrate we understand the business and we understand how we're going to drive this thing forward. And then once you've put that in place, then you can start talking about all the incredible things you want to do. And marketers, I think, will be much more receptive to it. Number 4, learn to speak CFO. So one of the sort of big challenging moments that I've had in my career is when I started to be the only marketer in the room. And the reason that's challenging is in a lot of circles, marketing is not a given. Like working at Google, product people might say, well, why would we spend $5 million on this instead of $2 million? And we could put that $3 million into product development. Or why do we even need to do marketing at all? I think the rooms that we all sit in, marketing is a given, but quite often marketers in rooms where marketing is not a given at all, or even the value of marketing is questioned. And this is where media metrics do not help at all. You cannot talk about reach, you cannot talk about programming or whatever, or whatever you want to talk about. Media metrics are a one-way ticket to no one else in the organization understanding. So I strongly, strongly, strongly advise you need to start, if you don't currently work with an MMM model, you absolutely need to be doing that. You need to be looking at case studies and not media case studies from outside of the industry, how to drive businesses forward. You need to give your clients and give marketers the tools that they need to have conversations about why they should actually be making these investments. Because if you don't do that, it's a one-way ticket to the company divesting in marketing overall. So I strongly, strongly recommend that's something that this industry needs to start doing, and that will absolutely close the gap. Final one, don't focus on being right. So I think the media industry is drowning in numbers and details and insight and data and all kinds of stuff. And I think, therefore, there's a strong tendency to look for what is the right answer. And I think if you look for what is the right answer, that's one, probably going to be an answer that a lot of other people are capable of coming up with. But two, it's probably going to be quite boring. The right thing that's proven by numbers is probably something that's already happened before. I think instead there's a lot of value in trying to be interesting. And if you try to be interesting and you try and think of things in a new way, come at it from a different perspective, that's going to encourage a lot of different kind of conversations, and it's going to mean that you're opening a door that you haven't opened before with your clients as well. And I think it's perfectly acceptable to say, normally we would go down this path, we're actually doing something a little bit different today, and we want to talk to you about something that we think is a bit interesting. So I would say, don't worry about being right, because there is no real right answer, and if there is a right answer, it's probably a little bit dry and boring. Instead, look for something that's interesting. That would be my strong, strong advice. So those are my top tips. Some of those hopefully are helpful to you. I think they're all things that you can try and practice every single day. But I think if you're looking to how to bridge the gap with your client and you're looking to do things new with them, I would say keep it simple, be the connector, hold the jazz hands, learn to speak CFO, and don't focus on being right, focus on being interesting. Hopefully that was helpful. And hopefully you got something out of it. Thank you for having me here today.